So we are beginning the 6th chapter now. This is titled Dhyana Yoga. So until now, last 3 chapters we covered Karma Yoga primarily. So this is a different section. This is a different yoga now. So how to work was the focus until now. So we will cover, it's all based on the teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Vita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpata Rubhyascha Kapa Sindhu Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langaite girim yat kripatam aham vande Shri Gurum Devatarinam. So just to quickly see what went on so far in chapter 1. So we know the story behind Pandavas and Kauravas. They have assembled in the place known as Kurukshetra, and looking at the armies on both sides, Arjuna was very much aggrieved that he had to fight his own relatives, and he gives various reasons why he does not want to continue doesn't want to pursue the path of fight. So he gives his reasons, mainly they're based on compassion, enjoyment, his own fear of sinful reactions, and destruction of family traditions. These are the various reasons Arjuna gives why he doesn't want to fight. So chapter 2, Arjuna finally expresses his indecision as to he was unclear whether to fight or not. So that's the indecision. And then finally he surrenders to Krishna and accepts him as his guru and wants his guidance on the further steps, what he has to do. So that is in 2.7 he surrenders. After that, Krishna first gives Atma Jnana, Sankhya philosophy, why he should fight. He gives the understanding of the soul, Atma, and the characteristics of soul. That is the analytical study of matter and spirit. The Sankhya philosophy is given so that Arjuna understands that he is not this body, he is the spirit soul. Then he explains about what is karma kanda. So various reasons why, Arjuna says he doesn't want to kill, but Krishna clarifies that, Atma can never be killed. So in this way, he is countering all the reasons that Arjuna gave, as part of these reasons in the first chapter. So Krishna is countering through various arguments, through Sankhya philosophy, through karma kanda. If he wins the battle, he will rule the earth. If he dies in the battle, he will be promoted to heaven. So there is no loss in fighting. So that is karma kanda reason as to why he can fight. And then he gives Nishkama Karma Yoga. Fight simply because it is Krishna's desire. Fight simply because it's just your duty as a Kshatriya. That is the reasoning behind Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. And then Krishna discusses the symptoms of a self-realized soul, how he will be free from desire to enjoy the senses, how he will be indifferent from good and evil. He has steady mind, and he has taste for spiritual activities, devotional activities, and so like that. So that is chapter 2. Chapter 2 is like summary of the entire philosophy in bits and pieces, in small introductions. Third chapter is Karma Yoga. So so Arjuna gets confused because Krishna talks about Karma Yoga, that he should perform his duty, and then he talks about self-realized soul who who is not engaged in the world. So he was confused. Is Krishna telling me to fight, or to go back to forest and to meditation? So he was confused. So the third chapter begins with Arjuna asking a question: why Krishna wants him to fight? So he is confused between Buddhi Yoga, as retirement from active life. Krishna did not mean that, but Krishna actually condemns fruitive activities. What Krishna condemned in terms of activities is he should not perform activities for his own sense gratification. So if Arjuna thinks this war is going to give me kingdom and I'm going to enjoy, the kingdom, so that is incorrect mentality. That's what Krishna condemned as part of art of all work. Yeah. So Krishna gives two paths. One is Sankhya Yoga, analytical study. Second is Karma Yoga. Yeah. So we'll not discuss. This is going to be long. So basically, this is like introductory Karma Yoga. Then he gives transcendental knowledge. Fourth chapter is transcendental knowledge, that there are things beyond this existence. There is spiritual existence. So he touches about that, and how Krishna's appearance and activities are transcendental. Who is Krishna, and all of that is introduced here. The reasons of his appearance, that he will deliver the pious, annihilates the miscreants, re-establishes dharma. So all of that is given. So for the first time, things beyond the material existence, the transcendental existence, is talked about here in this fourth chapter. Yeah, Krishna created the Varnashrama system. Krishna is the source of all the existence. He explains the intricacies of action as well in this chapter. So after giving the basics of karma and transcendental existence of transcendental nature of Krishna and related knowledge, now Krishna summarizes 3 and 4 together in 5th chapter. How to work in God consciousness. This is the completion of the karma yoga, the right, the highest form of Nishkama karma yoga. So then he elaborates on Nishkama karma yoga, results of acting in Krishna consciousness and vision. And he also gives a preview of Ashtanga yoga, which is the next chapter. And he gives the final peace formula, right? So the last verse, 529, knowing. We can just quickly read that verse. That's a very important verse. Chapter 5. 529. Bhoktaram yajyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam jnatva mam santim richati. Aranya Mataji, can you read?
Sure. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries.
So this is the peace formula. If everybody understands this, there won't be any misery in this world. There won't be any. So what is that? One should be fully conscious of God. knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all the sacrifices. So, and austerities. Sacrifice means any work done for the God's pleasure. Okay, any work. It doesn't mean it's only the fire sacrifice. And all the austerities means all the pains that any yogi takes, whether it is sacrifices or austerities that are performed. If one understands that God is the ultimate beneficiary of all the activities done in the existence, right? It's not for my benefit. If I'm doing something, it's not for my benefit. Understand that God is the ultimate benefactor. Just like it's just like there is a proprietor of a hotel. All the work done by all the workers is ultimately for the satisfaction of the proprietor. It's similar thing. So because everything is created, everything is maintained, all the things that you need like air, water, the living place, everything is given to you. There is nothing that you own here when you are existing here. So being the proprietor naturally becomes the ultimate benefactor of everything. That's what, if one understands that, then if you lose something, if you gain something, you don't really fret about it. You don't really get anxious about it. The Supreme Lord of all the planets, not just this Earth planet, all of existence. Nobody can claim like that, but God can claim that. And demigods, all the Indra, Varuna, Vayu, all the demigods, they are all sourced in God. You see in the universal form, Krishna expands and shows how everybody and everything exists within him. And the benefactor and well-wisher of all the living entities. Whatever is done in our life is actually done with a well-wishing intent of the Lord. He is the most well-wishing person for us. One should understand that. So such a person attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. If one understands God is my best well-wisher, right? If nobody is there for me also, I have God. Right? And he is the benefactor. He is the one who looks for my benefit actually. His interest is my self-interest. One who understands that, he attains the peace from miseries of. Okay, so that is the summary of this chapter. Now let's move on to 6th chapter. Dhyana Yoga. So there are various yogas. Yoga is a process to connect with God. So that's in the material existence, by the nature of the existence, our consciousness is always attracted to the material things of this world, right? See, it's like, suppose you have water, you pour somewhere, where does it go? It goes towards the path that is sloped downwards, right? Nothing stays in its own place. It naturally finds its natural path downward. So similarly, by nature, by nature's natural arrangement, the consciousness of all the jivas always go downward and downward and downward. Look at the spiral downward. The consciousness always rolls downwards towards. So it's natural for it to dominate the material world. The soul always wants to dominate something. So it's easy. That's the easiest, least path of least resistance to actually go and enjoy the material objects. Yoga is a process of reconnecting with the higher consciousness. Higher consciousness is
What, baby?
like the God.
They put some chemicals.
So God, God is this, the supreme absolute truth. So yoga is a process that diverts the attention of the jiva, the conditioned soul, towards the higher purpose of life, or towards absolute truth. By nature, it always goes downwards, but yoga is a process that reverses. And we so far discussed how to purify our activities, meaning how to perform karma yoga. Karma yoga is the process by which one actively engages in the world, but while being engaged in the world, still be able to connect with the absolute truth. So the summary of Bhagavad Gita, in one way, in one verse, 511 covers the summary of Karma Yoga. Yeah. So the Kayena Manasa Buddhya Kevala, this is 511. The yogis means any yogi. The abandoning attachment, act with the body, mind, intelligence. Act with the body, mind, and intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. If you are acting in that way, meaning you are not acting in the world to enjoy the fruits of what the world gives you, but rather you wanted to purify your existence, right? So that is the right way of acting. That is Karma Yoga. You act only to purify your senses. That's the summary of Karma Yoga. Now Karma Yoga is one way to connect with absolute truth. Right? There are other ways. Now we will discuss Dhyana Yoga, how through meditation one elevates oneself. So the first section, first 1 to 9 verses, they discuss about how one can rise from the lowest rung of Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana Yoga has, 8 stages. So how one can rise from the lowest to the highest. So that is being discussed in this. Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Should I read this? Yeah. Okay. So 6 to 9, 6.1 to 6.9 is the same section, divided into two subsections. Advancing in yoga through detached work. That's the first section. So we'll read that. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Anashritah Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karotiya Sat Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragnay Na Chankriya. Yeah. Archana Madhik, can you read?
Yes, Prabhuji. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty."
So Krishna is clarifying what is sannyasa, what is karma, and what is the real meaning of being in the renounced order of life. Renounced order of life, people think sannyas means who does not do any work, right? Literally, one thinks that's what comes to mind. The sannyasi means who is not engaged in work at all. But Krishna is clarifying, it's not about work in itself. It is being unattached to the fruits of one's work. And who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order. Means one who performs his work as its duty, right, and not attached to the fruits, such a person is actually in the renounced order. Right? Renounced order, renunciation is not of the work, but of the fruits of the work. And he is true mystic. He is the yogi, and not one who lights no fire and performs no duty. Right? One who performs no duty means he's just being inactive at all completely. Such a person is not yogi. That's what is clarified. So in this chapter, Lord explains that the process of Eightfold Yoga system is a means to control the mind and the senses. This is another means to control your mind and senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the Eightfold Yoga system is recommended in this chapter, the Lord emphasizes the process of Karma Yoga or acting in Krishna consciousness is better. Everyone acts in this world to maintain his family and their paraphernalia, but no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criteria of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoy the fruits of work. To act in, so he'll clarify what is acting in Krishna consciousness. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. The parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body. So why we say, we should work for the satisfaction of Krishna? So that is clarified here. Just like if somebody eats food, it's for the satisfaction of the whole body, right? The limbs have to collaborate. That's how the whole system gets the energy. If hand thinks, hey, I am not the one who is eating, if the body, the stomach is the one who is enjoying the food, why should I work for it? If hands think like that, the body will not get the energy, right? So similar idea. Why we want to satisfy Krishna? Because he is the whole. Right? Just like watering the root, you don't need to water every leaf and branch. You water the root. That will satisfy the entire tree. So it is a similar concept here. So God is the absolute truth, is the totality of existence. We are part and parcel of it. By offering our fruits to God's satisfaction, we naturally engage in the right way. Right? Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the supreme whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi or the perfect yogi. Means he is connected. Yoga means to connect. He is connected in the right way. The sannyasis sometimes artificially think that they have become liberated from all material duties and therefore they cease to perform Agnihotra yagnas, but actually they are self-interested because their goal is to become one with the impersonal Brahman. Such a desire is greater than any material desire, but it is not without self-interest. So Prabhupada is talking about the impersonalists who want to merge into Brahmajyoti. So which is, they will even abandon Agnihotra Yagna, fire sacrifice, which is recommended for everybody. Not in this age. In this age, we don't perform Agnihotra Yagna. The best Yagna is Nam Sankirtan, which is to chant the holy name. That is going to cover everything. We don't need to perform any other Yagna. For Kali Yuga, that is the Yagna. But this is the general recommendation for every other age. So that's mentioned here. Yeah. But a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without self-interest. A Krishna conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criterion of success is the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus he is the perfect sannyasi. Because he is not acting in self-interest, naturally it is the perfect yogi, or he is the perfect sannyasi. Yeah. So this is a verse from Sikshastakam, very powerful verse. It says, Nadhanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadish kamaye mama janmani janmaneshware bhavatat bhaktir ahaituki tvayi. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotion service in my life, birth after birth. So this is the consciousness of a great devotee. He doesn't want anything but the service of God. Because in that service, he has the highest satisfaction. So, Yam sanyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahi asanyastaka kalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. Harshas, you want to read?
Sure, Prabhuji. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga or linking oneself with Supreme, O son of Pandu, for one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification.
So here it is clarified. One can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So in today's world, there are so many people announcing that they are yogis, but they don't do any renunciation of sense gratification. But here it's very clearly proclaimed that one has to give up the desire for sense gratification. That is the reason in Krishna consciousness, the practitioners, they follow the 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit relations, and no intoxication. Right? So they don't drink wine or no meat eating, no illicit relations. So these are basics. These are the fundamental principles that most of the people violate in this world. So those are all sense gratificatory activities, and devotees don't do that at all. Right? At least even if we are doing something right now, we slowly reduce that. We don't want to engage in that by force, or because of our conditioning. We might some might have may not be doing perfectly as of now, but don't worry about it. But as long as you desire at one point to give them up, that is good. Yeah. So renunciation is same as yoga. So that's what. But the definition of renunciation is not giving up work, but actually the definition of renunciation is renouncing the desire to enjoy the sense gratification in this world. Sense gratification means enjoying the things of this world, the sense objects, with the senses. Senses means eyes, tongue, genitals, skin. So these are all the senses which one uses to enjoy the things of this world. So giving up that spirit of enjoyment, doing duties for the sake of it, for the satisfaction of God, that is the highest. That is actually the true sannyas. Any questions so far? So the summary of 1 and 2 is sannyasa and yoga are the same, for both demand detachment from the desire for sense gratification. This is the summary of the first 2 verses. Yoga and sannyasa, they are same. They are talking not about giving up the work, but they're talking about giving up the desire to enjoy the fruits of one's work. Okay, if that is clear, we'll move to the third.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Yes, Mataji.
ये संन्यास और योग सेम कैसे हैं? क्योंकि कर्म योग और कर्म संन्यास तो अलग अलग हैं, तो संन्यास और योग एक कैसे हो गए?
How yoga and sannyas are same? Is that the question? Right?
यस प्रभु जी, यस। क्योंकि कर्म संन्यास और कर्म योग अलग अलग हैं, तो संन्यास और योग एक कैसे?
Karma sannyas and karma yoga are different. Yes, karma sannyas means giving up the work. Okay, no, but here the spirit of saying this is sannyas. Sannyas means, the literal meaning of sannyas is giving up the desire. So it's already defined what it means. Sannyas is actually giving up the desire to enjoy the fruits of one's work. So that is the definition. Given that definition, okay, take that as the definition of, do not mix karma yoga versus karma sannyas. Okay, so they are different. Karma yoga means acting for the sake of duty, not for the sake of enjoying the fruits of one's duties or one's work. Okay, so that is karma yoga.
हाँ वो तो कर्म योग हो गया. तो फिर कर्म योग, हाँ वो तो कर्म योग है, लेकिन फिर अलग है ना कर्म योग और कर्म संन्यास.
No, karma sannyas is different. So
हाँ डिफरेंट है, लेकिन यहाँ लिखा है कि संन्यास और योग सेम है.
sannyas and yoga. So the word sannyas, what is sannyas? So either define kiya aisa ki sannyas means one gives up the desire to enjoy the fruits of one's work. He does not. So the sannyas is for the fruits of the work, not for the work itself. So that is sannyas is karma yoga. Is that clear? I think it is. I felt it is very clear in the definition. So I can clarify with you, Mataji, if you separately. So they are the same because yoga is about connecting with the God. Okay, that can happen only when you give up. You have to give up. You want to get something. You want to connect with something higher. You have to give up something lower. What is that lower thing? The lower thing is the desire for the soul to the attraction to enjoy the fruits of one's work. That is the blocking thing. If one gives up that, then he's detached from the mentality of enjoying in this world. When he detaches, now he's connecting. He can connect. So yoga cannot happen without disconnecting oneself from the spirit of enjoying in this world. If one thinks that this world is a great place to enjoy for me,
नहीं वो तो समझ में आ गया.
so that is
योगा तो कर्म योग तो.
हाँ, कर्म योग is one.
पर दोनों सेम कैसे हैं वो समझ में नहीं आ रहा.
Because sannyas, if you act in sannyas, that results in yoga. So that's how you should see. Then it is because what do you mean by, what do you understand by sannyas? Let's come that way. Maybe that will clarify.
मेरे हिसाब से मैं कर्म संन्यास तब तक होता है जब तक कि कामना का त्याग नहीं हुआ है. कामना का त्याग होने के बाद में कर्म योग होता है.
Correct.
कामना यानी हाँ desire.
So yeah, so once you give up the desire for sense gratification, that is sannyas, right? That's what you said.
नहीं वो कर्म योग हो गया. कामना का त्याग यानी डिजायर का त्याग होना कर्म योग हो गया.
Correct. Yes. Okay.
और
what is sannyas?
संन्यास में कामना का त्याग नहीं होता है.
कामना का त्याग नहीं होता है.
हाँ डिजायर पूरी तरह से छूटी हुई नहीं होती है कर्म संन्यास में. तो दोनों सेम कैसे हो गए?
See, my problem is I'm not very good at Hindi, so I'm not exactly understanding the question, I think. So
क्वेश्चन बस वही है कि हाँ ये अगर ये संन्यास और योग जो लिखा है कि दोनों सेम हैं, तो ये संन्यास क्या यहाँ पे कर्म संन्यास और योग कर्म योग के संदर्भ में लिखा गया है?
Not clear to you what is called renunciation. You should know to be same as yoga. Yam sannyasam iti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava. So Krishna himself is saying this in the first line. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga or linking. So yoga means what? We defined linking oneself with the Supreme, connecting with the Supreme. So that happens only when you renounce the fruits of your actions. Meaning, if you detach yourself from the spirit of enjoying the fruits of your work, then you can connect with the higher. If you don't give up the lower, you can't connect with the higher. Okay? For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. I think it is very clear here for me, at least. Anybody who knows Hindi can clarify, Mataji, if you want to chip in. Otherwise, Mataji will I'll.
No, that's okay. कोई बात नहीं.
आरुरुक्षोर मुनेर्योगम कर्म कारणमुच्यते योगारूढ़स्य तस्यैव samah karanamujyate. Can you read, Mataji? Rinku Mataji?
नहीं प्रभु जी, मेरे sorry मेरे से नहीं.
Okay, no worries. Rashmi Mataji?
For one who is neo, one is said to be the mean, and for one who is already elevated in yoga, the question of all material activities is said to be
Yes. So now, so there are levels of yogis. So there is this eightfold yoga system. So the yoga system is eightfold, means it has 8 limbs, 8 steps. It starts with, yeah. So this is a yogi here, Ashtanga yogi performing Ashtanga yoga. So there are 8 stages that are part of this Ashtanga yoga. Yama, Niyama, Pranayam, Asana, Pratyahar, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi. So in this way, one advances in this system. Okay. Yama means don'ts. There are things you should not do as part. If you want to advance in this path, there are things you can eat, you cannot eat. Just like, if you want to achieve anything, you are preparing for IIT, you would stop playing games, right? There are don'ts. If you play like everybody else, you won't get the same thing. So similarly, if you want to progress in a path, you have to follow certain things. So Yama talks about the don'ts one should not do. Niyama means the rules one should follow to advance in this path. The do's means, what are the things one should do to progress in the spiritual path, like, eating certain things, or, not eating. What not eating, that is all Yama. So what meditation you should perform, all of those, the details of the things that one should do is Niyama. Then Pranayama means it's a controlling the bodily air system. Okay, prana, how you control the prana. Prana means mainly the breathing system. Yama means to control it. So how do you control the breathing system? Because breathing system balances, ultimately the soul is actually floating in the airs. There are 6 airs that are floating in the surrounding the soul. There are Udana, Vyana. So the air, so the soul is balanced in these airs. So by controlling one's breath, one is able to control the fluctuations of the mind. So the soul is covered by subtle body, and soul is there, and then surrounding is subtle body, and then there is gross body. 3 levels of existence. The subtle body is the interface between the soul and the physical existence, the physical body, right? Subtle body constitutes mind, intelligence, and ego, the 3 things, right? The 3. So the subtle body acts like a door for the gross body, right? So if you want to, suppose you are in the class now, but you are thinking about your mummy or daddy in India, for example, right? How you are able to think about that? Because the mind has opened the door towards your parents, not to the class here. So mind is like the door. Soul can see through that and experience the world. What the soul experiences is based on what the door shows, where the door opens to. So that's the relation between the 3 things. And the soul in itself and the subtle body, the 2 things are again sandwiched in between with the airs, the airs that go high, upper and lower. the soul is balanced between the airs and covered by the subtle body. Okay, just like the subtle body is the interface between gross body and the soul, the 6 airs are the interface between the subtle body and the spirit soul. So pranayama is the, is a process in which one controls the outgoing and incoming airs, and thereby settles down the 6 airs in a very mechanical fashion. So the whole process is mechanical. This whole, in this Eightfold yoga system, this is all mechanical process. Meaning, if you take Bhakti Yoga, it's not a mechanical process, but this Eightfold, this Ashtanga Yoga is a mechanical process. So now by balancing the airs, one gets control on the mind, meaning the mind is always restless. It goes everywhere, right? We all know, we all have the experience of it. But by balancing these airs through the process of breath, one is able to control where mind, where mind can focus. So ultimately, the goal of pranayama is to achieve the control of mind in a very mechanical way. It's a mechanical process. Bhakti is not mechanical. That's the main difference between Bhakti Yoga and the goal of all the process, is again to control the mind, right? Dhyana Yoga is sitting in meditation. Once you are able to control your mind, before this is asana, the yama, niyama, pranayama, and then asana. Asanas means because you want to focus your attention on the absolute truth, right? Even through this, so the yogi is meditating on the Paramatma within the heart. So even for that, you need to have certain control on the body, meaning your body should be healthy and it should be contributing to your meditation process. So to control mind is the process of pranayama. To control the body, to keep it in good condition, the process is asanas. Asanas are not meant for to just keep your tummy in line. Or the original purpose of asanas is actually to focus your mind on the absolute truth. So asanas will keep your body flexible and healthy and in a good shape. Once asanas are performed, then pratyahar means one withdraws his senses. Without asanas and without pranayama, one cannot withdraw his senses from the sense objects of this body. Okay. Now he is mentally and physically ready to withdraw from the world. So pratyahar means the food. Food for the senses. What is the food? Sense objects of this world. Mind is always running behind them. The body is contributing to it. Now by doing pranayama and asanas, one is able to have enough stability of mind to withdraw without any, in a natural way, he is able to withdraw his senses. So pratyahar is the process of withdrawing senses. Then once mind is withdrawn from these sense objects of this world, then he is able to sit in meditation and perform dhyana. Dhyana means sit and meditate on the on the absolute truth for a momentary time. Okay, it's not for a long period. Still, mind is so fluctuating. Even the yogis in the beginning stage, which is called Aru, so the stage is described here. Yoga Rurukshu and Yoga Ruda. So the beginning stage is called Yoga Rurukshu. So in the beginning stages, the yogi is able to control his mind for a very short fraction of time. When he practices for years and years, then he is able to extend the period of focus on the absolute truth for a longer period. That's called dharana. When he is able to achieve perfection, he is able to continuously focus his mind. So the mind is always, the door is always open to the outside world to enjoy the things of this world. But now it is completely redirected to the focus on the absolute truth. So that is samadhi. Samadhi means his mind is, the yogi is, the soul is completely focused on the inward. the Paramatma within. Okay? He's not at all, it's like a torchlight turned inward. Okay, so that is samadhi, where a yogi is able to completely focus on the Paramatma within the heart for a longer duration of time. Okay, so this is a valid yoga system that is practiced in the in the previous ages. It's not practical for Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, this is not a recommended path. So that is talked about in Kalisantara Upanishad. It's also talked about in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is also talked about in the next chapters as well. But Krishna gives holistically all the paths. He's not going to give only one path that works for us, because the knowledge that he is giving is for eternality. Meaning, people of this age, people of the next age, thousands of years from now should be able to still follow this book. So that's the reason this knowledge is given here. Okay, any questions on this? Otherwise, so yeah, so
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, I have a question. So this is talking about mostly like sannyasis, right? Like where does our chanting, like does this merge somewhere?
it's not in this. It comes in the so karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. They are different buckets.
Got it.
Bhakti yoga comes in the next chapter onwards. It's covered in depth actually. It's covered in 5 chapters. So these yogas are covered in 1, 2, or 3 chapters. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah. So this is so the goal is, if you have heard 1 hour back, Radheshyam Prabhu was talking about various levels of realization. I shared that the video, the Zoom link. I don't know if you have heard it. So he very well clarifies the various paths and the realizations each of them give.
Sure. I'll check it out, Prabhuji. But some of these, like Art of Living, like they teach like pranayama. So just
That is just this part, within this Eightfold.
yeah.
So limited. Most of these, the yoga teachers around us, they focus on these only, the Eightfold Yoga system, and focus on pranayama or asanas. These. So they don't talk about yama niyama, because if they talk about it, most people will run away. They don't want. They want members, so they don't talk about do's and don'ts so much. Yeah. But ideally, the whole process is not for healthy living. Healthy living is a byproduct of this system. Healthy living is not the goal of yoga or pranayama or asanas. If you take care of your spiritual life, material life is always taken care. It's like a shadow that follows, right? If you walk, how the shadow always follows. So similarly, if you take care of your spiritual life, material life is always taken care. Right? Krishna says, right? One who takes to my path will never perish. So there is assurance from God that one who takes to any path of yoga, for that matter, not just bhakti yoga, sincerely, there is God's protection to him, because he is trying to follow the instructions of God. So why karma yoga better than Ashtanga yoga? So that is discussed in this here. Karma yoga, Karma yoga means to engage senses in the service of the Lord. Okay, so they work as per the criteria of perfection, work for satisfaction of Lord Krishna, and not wishing to enjoy the fruits of work. Yeah, so similar, the analogy is limbs work as part, work as part and parcel of the whole. Just like, do not think, when we talk about bhakti yoga and worshipping Krishna, do not think as if it is, just a worship of some entity. You are part, as per the definition of, the knowledge that is given here, you are part of the whole. Okay, that whole is termed Krishna. So you are just engaging in relation with that supreme absolute truth. So that's what is, that's what it means. So Ashtanga Yoga as a means to control mind and senses is very difficult, especially in this age, because everybody works in this world, for some self-interest. Right? So it's very difficult. So one cannot, so to practice to perfection this kind of eightfold yoga system, one has to give up everything in this world, right? He has to, the first requirement is you have to give up, you have to take to sannyas. Who is ready to take sannyas now? In Kali Yuga, 99.999% of people are not ready for it. Why would God give a system that would not work for us? Because God wants us back. Okay, but this is a good system that works for in other yugas. Like Satya Yuga, this is a perfect system. Most of the yogis, like Vishwamitra Muni, they were all practicing eightfold yoga system, and they were meditating for thousands of years. So that is the length of period it takes. You can practice now also, but it takes lifetimes. You can do that. It could be multiple lifetimes. You continue and progress from lower stage to yoga Roda to yoga Rudrakshu stage, like that. But why to take the long path, right? So just like if you have you have fever, you have a specific medicine for it, right? Just because medical shop has 10 medicines, you won't take any medicine. So similarly, for every age, there is specific medicine to cure the material disease, the disease of samsara bhavaroga. So there is a disease specific to each age. So the medicine for this age is Nama Sankirtan, means the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So that is described in all scriptures, especially Kali Santarana Upanishad, the Upanishad that is specific to Kali Yuga. So that talks about Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevalam Kalau Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gadiranyata, which means in this age of Kali, there is no other path than the chanting of the holy name of Lord Hari. So that's the only path that elevates us. That's the only path that liberates. That's the best path to practice in the age of Kali Yuga. Because people do not have stability of mind. There is, lifetime is short. They're always anxious. And where is the chance for them to really sit down, meditate for hundreds of years? No, it's not possible. Yeah, so here is a nice diagram of the stages, beginning stage and advanced stage. So the lowest of all is animal life, right? Animals, what do? They eat, sleep, mate, defend. Ahara nidra bhayamaitu namcha. Most of the human beings who also only do those things, which even animals do, they are no better than animals, because human beings have the extra ability to inquire about the purpose of life. If they don't do that, they are as good as animals. Then what happens to them in the next life? Anybody? From what we discussed so far, anybody knows what happens to a person who lives like animal all his life?
Getting animal body.
Yes, because perfect answer, Sri Vidyanathan. Because he will get an animal body, because that is his consciousness. Whatever state of mind at the time of death you have, the snapshot is taken, that will be your next life. Right? Krishna says in 8th chapter. So if a person lives all his life like an animal, at the time of death, that's what he will think. And then he will become an animal. Because why? God will say, hey, you lived all your life like an animal. Why should you wear a human body? You better wear animal dress in the next body. So that's the lowest form of life. And then higher than that is karma kanda. Karma kanda means a person who believes, okay, there is there is these Vedic scriptures, and there are these vratas or pujas, by doing which I can get some things that I can enjoy in this world. Fruitive mentality, like Satchinarayana Vrata or Lakshmi Puja. There are so many pujas people do. What is the purpose? So that God will be very nice to us and give us what we want. Regulated sense gratification, it's called. People are faithful, they have faith in the God, but their faith is like a business deal. I do this puja to you, I break a coconut for you, and you give in return, the gratification I need. I want a job, I want my son's marriage, I want, a good wife, I want a good husband, I want land, I want home, whatever. It is pious. I'm not saying it is bad. It's not, it's far better than animal life. But still, it is the lowest consciousness in terms of, what a human being is capable of, right? Then higher than karma kanda is karma yoga, where one understands whatever I am achieving in this world is temporary, ultimately, right? I have this, I have that. People in the past have achieved so many things. There are many, many rich people in the past, like Rockefeller. Where are they now? Like Ford. Where are they now? They achieved certain things in life, but at the end, they all gave up. They lost their wife, they lost their home, they lost everything. Towards the end of life, they lost their memory and they left the world. So what am I in this world to achieve here, right? One gets frustrated with the temporariness of the things of this world, then he thinks maybe I should not be attached to this world. That is the right way of consciousness. Because if I'm attached, sometimes I'm becoming happy, sometimes I'm becoming miserable. Why to go through all of this pain and pleasure of the temporary things of this world? Then he does karma sannyas. Not karma sannyas. He does renounce the fruits of work. That's what we are discussing in the last two verses. So renouncing the fruits of work, so that is karma yoga. One who is detached from the fruits of work is sannyas, right? That's what we discussed. So one who does that, but still he is engaged in this world, he is not going to get any reaction for his work because he is not attached to the fruits of work. So that is, by doing that, one can go to higher planets where yogis are living, like higher than Swargaloka, there is, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. There are all higher planets, much better life standard there. But they are all within the material world. They are not in the spiritual world, But you will be living with yogis afterwards, after living this life. And above Karma Yoga is, Jnana Yoga. Now here in Karma Yoga, when he gave up the mentality to enjoy the fruits of work. Now after giving up the mentality to enjoy the fruits, now he is inquiring, hey, there is something higher. There is this absolute truth. I want to know more about it. Now he is inquiring, night. This is not that absolute truth. This is not that absolute truth. So he goes on to inquire to find the purpose of life and the existence. And in this way, he tries to achieve Brahma Jyoti or Brahman, realization of Brahman. So that is, such a person goes beyond the material existence. So the people up to now were within the material existence. Now here, the yogi goes to Brahman. He realizes the Brahman. But Brahman is not the highest realization. It's the negation of the material existence, but it's not the highest of highest. So above Brahman is the realization of Paramatma. Paramatma that is within the heart, right? So in this, after inquiring and understanding the purpose of life, one understands there is this absolute truth. I need to sit down to meditate on that absolute truth. That is Ashtanga yogi, the yogi who performs dhyana, right? The sixfold the Eightfold system that we just discussed. So that yogi, he renounces fruits, he renounces knowledge, he controls minds and senses by Ashtanga yoga, and ultimately he sits down to meditate on Paramatma, right? So that is, that is Ashtanga yogi, right? And then after perfecting Ashtanga yoga in the final dharana stage, he is able to see the Paramatma within the heart. Paramatma is of the size of the thumb of the jiva, right? So he is able to very clearly see that Lord within the heart, because now his torchlight is completely turned inward. He's finally searched the Paramatma within the heart. He's able to see that, he is fully joyful, he's completely immersed in that form of the Lord. And now at this point, he surrenders to him and completely, with love and reverence, he serves that person. Now he can serve that form in a deity form. So that is Bhakti Yoga. So an Ashtanga yogi can become a Bhakti yogi after, gradually going from. So this is called staircase method of elevating. In this way also one can come to Bhakti Yoga, but this is a staircase method, meaning one can go elevate from animal life to Karma Kanda, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and ultimately achieve Bhakti Yoga. Right? But there is also a direct process. What is the direct process? That accept the instructions of Bhagavad Gita and directly worship Lord. So Bhakti Yoga is not dependent on all these steps. One can directly practice Bhakti Yoga. Okay. One need not go through all these, step-by-step method. Okay. One can directly engage in Bhakti Yoga. That requires an element of faith. For a Dhyana yogi to practice Bhakti Yoga is very easy. Why? Because he already saw Paramatma within that. He is convinced. He has no doubt about the existence of God. And for him to practice Bhakti Yoga is very natural, straightforward. But having faith in great acharyas like Prabhupada and Madhvacharya or all the great teachers, we just have faith in those acharyas, and having faith in those acharyas and understanding that this path is perfect, believing the existence of Lord and directly worshipping is called Bhakti Yoga, right? So we can all directly practice Bhakti Yoga. We don't need to go through all of this because this can take lifetimes. So we don't need to go through all of this. And in Kali Yuga, some of these limbs cannot be even practiced. So it is recommended directly to engage in Bhakti Yoga. That's the easiest and fastest. Right? So this is the elevation of consciousness, right? So all of this is Sakama. Sakama means fruitive. Nishkama means without any fruits, right? So from Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, these are all Nishkama, means there is no element of sense gratification here, right? So here it's Kama or selfishness. So animal life and Karma Kanda is selfish. So the yogi advances from Yoga Rurukshu stage to Yoga Ruda stage as he advances in this path. So that's what is discussed in so the yoga ladder is described here. So third verse talks about this stage. For one who is a neophyte, means very new to Eightfold yoga system, work is said to be the means. Don't give up the work because your senses are so active. They are running after sense objects. Don't artificially restrain your senses. Engage your senses, but don't try to enjoy the fruits of them. In that way, if you are engaged, slowly you will advance. And at one point, you can give up the work. Okay. For one who is already elevated in yoga, means the higher stages, jnana, dhyana, bhakti. Okay. So cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. So in the beginning stages, engage your senses in a way without attached to the fruits. But in the advanced stage, especially in this part, Ashtanga Yoga, in Bhakti Yoga, again, this recommendation is not there to give up the work. Because to focus on the Paramatma within in Dhyana Yoga, or to pursue about the purpose of life in in Jnana Yoga, you need to have that dedicated time to focus your energies on pursuing this absolute truth. So in this period, one has to give up the world and go to forest and inquire about the purpose of life and meditate on the Lord. So for him, it is okay to give up the work. Okay, so you understand how difficult this is to practice in this age. It is not something to be that can be easily practiced in a city life. Ashtanga Yoga, to really practice to its purpose, right? To its purpose is to achieve perfection of and self-realization. That is nowhere practiced in this world. The so-called yoga schools and the institutes, they only practice one or two, again within that a part of it, just to maintain good a peace of mind and a healthy life. They're not teaching the when we teach Bhakti Yoga, our purpose is to achieve the absolute truth. Okay, you look at any of these yoga systems, they don't talk about that much about the purpose of life and achieving them. But we follow the easiest path because that is the practical path in this age. And we study fully and we practice. Okay, so that's how we do here in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So the process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga. It may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual relation. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living unity and rises up to the perfect self-realization in true spiritual life. According to various elevations, different parts of the ladder are known by different names. But all in all, the complete ladder is called yoga and may be divided into three parts, namely Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. The beginning of the ladder is called Yoga Rurukshu, and the highest rung is called Yoga Ruda. We discussed this. Concerning the Eightfold Yoga system, attempts in the beginning to enter into meditation through regulative principles of life and practice of different sitting postures, which are more or less bodily exercises, are considered fruitive material activities. The beginning things are all fruitive actually. All such activities lead to achieving perfect mental equilibrium to control the senses. I talked about this. The airs that control the soul, right? When one is accomplished in the practice of meditation, he ceases all the disturbing mental activities. The whole process of meditation is to restrain the mind. A Krishna conscious person. So now Prabhupada is comparing Eightfold Yoga system with Bhakti Yoga. A Krishna conscious person, however, is situated from the beginning on the platform of meditation because he always thinks of Krishna. And being constantly engaged in the service of Krishna, he is considered to have ceased all material activities. If you are God conscious in your mind, in your activities, as you are engaged in this world, naturally you are already as good as above all of these stages, because you are working at the consciousness level. Look at these yogas. Ashtanga Yoga is working at the bodily level, breath, mind. Mind is also material. You think you're working at the mind level, again that is material. But when you are chanting, what are you doing? You are trying to meditate on the Lord, and it's that the process is at the level of consciousness. You are focused. You are trying to absorb yourself on God, right? Absorbed in hearing the name of Lord. So that is working at the consciousness level. That is the highest level of working. And that's why it's the only spiritual path. It's the ideal spiritual path practice, because consciousness is the only spiritual tool that you have. And that's what you're engaged in the process of Bhakti Yoga. That's why even in the latter chapters, Krishna says of all the sacrifices and japa yajna, he says Japa yagna means chanting the name of Lord, and in that process, one actually focuses his consciousness on God. Okay, God or God's name. So that is the highest, because consciousness is the highest thing that you have in with you. It's not the breath, it's not the mind, it's not the physical body. So it's definitely higher than, it's operating at a higher level than Dhyana Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga, don't take it like a sentimental process. It is the highest, because if you understand the process itself, it is actually focusing your consciousness on the absolute truth. So Krishna consciousness is about managing your consciousness. It's operating at the conscious level. So that's why it is considered higher. Okay, so I think it's already 6:20. We'll end the class here. We'll discuss from fourth verse in the next verse. Okay, thank you all very much. I'm getting calls today. So if you have questions, you can send me.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I hope you all got some clarity on Ashtanga Yoga.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all. Haribol.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.